last night, the Mavs tied the series against the Clips. Kawhi made his return back, and we'll get to some NBA audio coming up. But he had a remarkable game, Luka did. Kyrie was good, and all the others contributed. They didn't play scared anymore, and the Clippers looked very unsure about themselves with Kawhi back in the rotation.
I'm not afraid anymore.
I asked you this question because to us, I think it feels we're not picking anybody in the West to beat Denver. Maybe Minnesota. They're very likable. I'm actually finding myself loving what Minnesota is. I know Gobert rubs people the wrong way, but I think even Rudy Gobert's gotten out of the way and just done what he's supposed to do. Cat's taken, his second fiddle role very well. Jaden McDaniels is emerging onto the scene, and Edwards didn't even play a great game, but I thought he played a good game. They're very likable. They're the complete polar opposite of what Phoenix is, who bitches and whines after every play.
The whole game.
Every moment. Their coach is doing it. They're a rudderless, leaderless ship right now. And we'll see if they can make this a series again because they're now down 2-0. They have to beat Minnesota 4 of the next 5 games. I don't know if I think that's going to happen.
Not happening.
But that being said, if we think Denver's just going to get right back to the finals, and Jokic is, probably a top 5 center already somehow, some way, and making even somebody like LeBron, and I'm sure in 20 years, Michael on his old age will have to make another Last Dance doc because he's scared that Jokic is now considered the GOAT. So how does he counter-program that? Well, let me tell you what I did back in my day.
It'd be a documentary about how good his horse racing is and how he's winning titles in NASCAR now, and Jokic can't do that.
As he's winning in horse, I'm winning in NASCAR.
That's right, real horsepower.
Right, yeah, I've got 300 horses. But Jokic and the Nuggets feel inevitable. I'm giving you 4 options here. Which player of these 4 options do you think is most likely, if at all, to disrupt what Denver has in Jokic for what seems like the foreseeable future?
Mm-hmm.
Because, as Ozzie Guillen once said, you don't want to get injured? Be fat. Muscle tears. Fat doesn't.
You can't pull fat.
And it was a funny thing that he said a couple weeks back about baseball players needing to be fat because these guys are too healthy and they're getting hurt all the time.
Yeah, basically said the White Sox players are in too good a shape right now.
And Jokic has a little bit of that doughy vibe. He's in great shape, but he's not necessarily svelte.
No, he's not at all.
So maybe he's got this run for the next 12 years because he's just doughy. Let me ask you, of these 4 players, which one would you pick to lead your team to try to overtake or think you can overtake eventually?
Yeah.
Ann Edwards, Luka Doncic, SGA, or Victor Wembanyama, who's not even in the playoffs this year?
I would go, it's kind of an easy answer for me, to be honest. Maybe it shouldn't be. Right now, it's Ann Edwards, and that would be my easy pick.
You've stunned me.
So
I thought he might be dead last of the picks that you would make.
For a couple of reasons. Wemby has the brightest future in terms of the player that he can become, right? Like if you're just picking of those 4 players, who would you want to take and build a team around right now? Wemby, based off his rookie year, is probably the answer there. But we know in the NBA, and the same is true with Jokic, until you get a team around you, there's only so much that you can do. Is San Antonio going to go find another star for Wemby? Maybe. Maybe they get him in free agency. Maybe they pull off a trade. Maybe it's Trae Young. Maybe they land somebody in the draft because they were terrible this year. There's a chance that they do it, but they got to go find that guy. And until they do, Wemby's not winning anything of note in the NBA. He's just not. He'll be a great player. He'll be an elite player, but you got to have a team around you in order to do it, and he's the furthest away from that. SGA is a remarkable player, but if I were picking between him or Ann Edwards, I would take Ann Edwards over SGA, and I also think, despite where the win-loss records ended up in seeding in the playoffs, I think Ann Edwards has the better team around him right now and the more complete team around him than SGA. And Luka Doncic is a tremendous scorer. We all know his ability, and maybe Dallas surprises me this year. But I look at them as the same team problem of, I don't know if you got enough pieces in order to hang with Denver anytime soon. And adding to that roster is not going to be easy. Like, what assets do you have to play with to go get another stud? I think Minnesota's got a chance to do it this year. I genuinely do. I know Denver's going to be the overwhelming favorite in that series.
They've looked. I was pretty impressed with him yesterday because they had a bad. I thought he did a lot of other things for them, but he was not very good from the field. He
was
couldn't
3
find a
of
shot.
12, dude. He couldn't make a shot until the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and so
they won by going away.
Yeah, well, it helps when you get 25 from Jaden McDaniels.
Yeah. McDaniels went off. I think what is most impressive to me about Minnesota is their ability to play defense, their ability to lock in on that end. We know about Gobert and how he is. You mentioned Cat. I love that he's accepted that role because 5 years ago, Cat was the face of Minnesota. Now he's like second, third fiddle on Minnesota, which is the role that he should be in and should have been in his entire career. Their ability to lock in on the defensive end is something that I don't see from Dallas or Oklahoma City in the playoffs.
Yeah, but I think the tough part is Minnesota certainly looks like they might be able to push Denver. Now, beat Denver, I'm not going there. I'm not going to pick against what that is. That's championship pedigree.
I put a bet on it because I like the odds and I think there's a flyer, but not a likely chance.
I guess I'm a little surprised because they're off to a great start in the playoffs, but it's the first round. I was just a little surprised that you would pick him like Luka. I almost put up a poll question last night of the two players who would you pick, Ant Edwards and Luka. And last night would have been kind of an easy answer because Luka had a better game, statistically speaking, than Ant Edwards did.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like most people, when pressed, would take Luka and not maybe even think twice about it. But SGA's sitting there as the 1 seed. And I know they didn't get off to maybe the greatest of starts in game 1, but we'll see if they can go up 2-0. Wemby would have. I thought you would have gone with Wemby.
I understand the argument for Wemby.
He had Jokic had like 42 that night, but Wemby had like one of those crazy unicorn. Insane games against Denver just a few weeks ago.
He did. He's an unbelievable player. Who's going to be his running mate? And how long does it take to find that?
Well, but that's part of the gamble, right? Like, what if San Antonio, if they don't mess this thing up, does find the running mate?
Then it's terrifying. But you got to find that, and that's a lot easier said than done. Like, look at Jokic has been a tremendous player in the NBA for a long time.
Yeah.
They couldn't beat Portland in the second round of the playoffs. CJ McCollum torched him in Game 7.
Yeah.
Because he didn't. Who was his number 2? Jamal Murray wasn't quite that yet. They hadn't gotten Aaron Gordon yet.
That was one of their
year.
first real years as a team, I think, going to the postseason and learning that experience with the 4 overtime Rodney Hood game.
It's a process to get there, and Wemby he's going to have to go through that. Very few players.
Does he though? He's really different, man.
They won 20 games this year.
I know.
Dude. They're a long way.
I know.
He was unbelievable as a rookie, and they won like 20 games.
I understand.
Greg Popovich is 97 years old. He's going to combust into dust at some point. And who is their next head coach going to be? And are they going to get that right?
Whoever Wemby wants, probably.
If Wemby is one
probably
of those,
some French guy,
sure, some guy coming over drinking coffee. If he demands his trade and like goes to a different team where he's like teaming up with people, then Wemby's the easy answer. He's going to be dominant. He's the best player, arguably, of that crew. He needs to have a number 2 guy, and they don't have that.
Tyson Alger of the I-5 corridor, I thought, had a great tweet the other night. Portland should, and this was after that Murray hit the game winner. He tweeted, Portland should hang a banner that they beat Denver in a postseason.
We did it, people.
And, like, I know that's a joke, but if that team becomes like a three-peat, a dynasty, wins multiple, I don't know if it's awful. I don't know if that's an awful take.
It's not an awful take because we did that when Dallas won an NBA championship years ago, and we patted ourselves on the back for like 9 months because we played them the hardest in the first round.
Because Sean Marion once said,
Portland's a tough matchup there, first round, man. Brandon Roy went off.
If LeBron and the Heat were just so easy to get through for a championship.
I love Anthony Edwards, dude.
I do too.
I love watching him play. I love his style. I love how aggressive he is.
Is there anybody in that list you don't like? Because Lucas certainly comes off as kind of a whiny little...
I want to punch him in the face. He's a tremendous player, but I want to punch him in the face. I also think he's a sieve defensively. Anthony Edwards is not.
I thought he was okay yesterday.
I mean, yes.
One game.
Dude, yeah, it's one game. But there were a couple of possessions I was like, what does he do defensively? And he's just like floating around, not rotating to a guy, drifting down into the paint. And then he would grab a rebound on a missed shot and run the fast break. SGA is great. He's more of a foul seeker, though. Anthony Edwards is so unique because he didn't really start playing basketball until later in his life. He was a football guy, kind of came out of nowhere as a number 1 overall pick. I remember that being somewhat of a controversial number 1 pick, too. Like, this guy really only popped for a year or two. Like, are we really doing this?
And Georgia didn't go to the tourney.
Jordan didn't go on this long run. He has gotten he's been in the league for 4 years. He's only 22 years old, and he has gotten exponentially better every year that he's been in the league.
If I post the same question on Twitter, who wins it, though?
Probably Wemby.
Probably Wemby, right?
Probably.
And who you think gets second? Because I think it's Luka. People love Luka.
Yeah.
He's child prodigy from Europe, won the EuroLeague, played in it since he was like 16. And I'm both bothered by Luka, but I also can acknowledge what Gundy said yesterday on Twitter. When he kind of turns into a whiny little bee is actually when he plays better.
Yeah, he got that tech on the and one, or thought he should have had an and one. He
wasn't wrong. He
way.
did get fouled on that play.
He did get fouled.
SGA, no love.
No love for SGA.
Yeah.
No love at all.
Seems like it's going to be very hard for a team like Oklahoma City. And I know they got to a finals with KD, Harden, and Westbrook years ago, but
they did.
It's such a tough market to keep your talent in.
Yeah, you got the small market mindset. How do we keep our guys around? Maybe Durant is the answer this offseason for them. I don't know, but good luck with that. I would look at it right now and say, and this is way overreactionary, watching Dallas for 2 games, watching OKC for a game, and watching Minnesota for 2 games.
Minnesota looks like the best team.
It's not even close of who you think would push Denver. Now, I'm not saying you think they're gonna beat them, but Dallas has shown me nothing to say, yes, I think that team can take down Jokic in the playoffs. Nothing so far.
Unfortunately, I would love to see a Minnesota-Dallas series.
I would too.
McDaniels on Luka, and
great.
Edwards occasionally on Luka.
That'd be great.
Back and forth. And by the way, Minnesota, not a hotbed for hoops in terms of the fan base caring all that much because their owners sucked for so long. Damn, it's just isn't it amazing when a team is really good and likable, how much energy that provides to an arena? I don't know. I didn't check any of the post-game quotes from the players. They had to have given those fans a ton of credit because they didn't even play their best game.
No.
And their best player couldn't hit a shot.
Nope.
And it felt like the energy of that crowd was like helping lift a Conley 3 or helping push and kind of motivate a McDaniels. An awesome just sight to see yesterday when they went 2-0 against Phoenix.
I know we're against it. Last 2 thoughts for me on this. I'm sure we'll do a little more NBA next because I got to get to my Quake take. But 2 teams that we're talking about right now who made really risky trades that were made fun of at the time that they made them. Minnesota to go get Gobert. That was a universal reaction of what the hell are you doing? You gave up that for Rudy Gobert. That was the reaction.
And 5 first-round picks?
It was insane. And you already have a setter. Why would you do that? And here they are looking pretty damn good. And then Dallas, who did it with Kyrie Irving. Why would you risk it with a guy who was unreliable, can't count on him, he's flaming out everywhere he goes, and we'll see what happens. Maybe Dallas loses in the first round. We get this. We'll have to wait and see on that take. But 2 teams that took a chance, they took a risk. It's funny how sometimes that works out. I wish Portland would try it sometime.